Good evening. Good evening and welcome. We gather as community, as family and friends. And so let us begin by standing and singing together, Hosea, come back to me with all your heart. Let's do that now.
Come back to me with all your heart. Don't let fear keep us apart. Trees to bend, though straight and tall, so must we to others fall. Long have I waited for your coming home to me, and living deeply our new love. Wilderness will lead you to your heart, where I will speak integrity and justice with tenderness. You shall know. Long have I waited for your coming home to me, and living deeply our new love. You shall sleep secure with peace. Faithfulness will be your joy. Long have I waited for your coming home to me, and living deeply our new life.
Blessed are those who have died in the Lord. Let them rest from their labors, for their good deeds go with them. Eternal rest grant unto her, O Lord.
And let perpetual light shine upon her.
May she rest in peace.
Amen.
May her soul and the souls of all the faithful departed, through the mercy of God, rest in peace.
Amen.
For this psalm, we will alternate sides. This side will be side 1, and the other side, side 2. And for the last sentence, we'll pray it together. Remain ever before me, O living presence, for in you I am safe. You are my beloved. In you and through you, I can do all things.
I look to those who are at one with you and learn from them of your ways. My delight increases each time I sense your presence within me. Songs of praise well up from my heart.
Love is my chosen food, my cup, holding me in its power. Where I have come from, where'er I shall go, love is my birthright, my true estate.
I bless the counselor who gives my way. In the night also does my heart instruct me. I walk beside the Spirit of truth. I celebrate the light.
I bask in the oneness of all. Thus my heart is glad, and my soul rejoices. I shall not be afraid, nor fall into the pit of despair. For in love's presence I know fullness of joy. You are my beloved, and in you will I live forever.
A reading from the book of Ruth, chapter 1. When Naomi heard in Moab that the Lord had come to the aid of his people by providing food for them, she and her daughters-in-law prepared to return home from there. With her 2 daughters-in-law, she left the place where she had been living and set out on the road that would take them back to the land of Judah. Then Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, "Go back, each of you, to your mother's home. May the Lord show you kindness as you have shown kindness to your deceased husbands and to me. May the Lord grant that each of you will find rest in the home of another husband." Then she kissed them goodbye, and they wept aloud and said to her, "We will go back with you to your people." "No, my daughters, it is more bitter for me than for you, because the Lord's hand has turned against me." At this they wept aloud again. Then Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung to her. "Look," said Naomi, "your sister-in-law is going back to her people and her gods. Go back with her." But Ruth replied, "Don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates you and me." When Naomi realized that Ruth was determined to go with her, she stopped urging her. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
We just heard the reading from the book of Ruth. Cathy used verse 16 from that book several times when she was asking to be admitted to the community of the poor handmaids of Jesus Christ, and in her final vow ceremony. "Do not press me to leave you or to stop going with you, for wherever you go, I shall go. Wherever you live, I shall live. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God." Sister Cathy's life was indeed a journey, just as Ruth was. Cathy was very proud of being born in Chelmsford, Essex, England. Her dad was in the Air Force, so they moved a lot. From England, they moved to Germany, and then finally to White Pigeon, Michigan, where she began to have a little stability. As Ruth moved from Moab to the land of Judah, so Cathy moved from one country to another and from one city to another. Somehow she knew that this was not just an outward journey, but Sister Cathy also paid attention to her inner journey. In England, as a baby, she was baptized into the Anglican faith since her maternal grandparents were of that faith. When living in Michigan, she participated in the Episcopal religion, but had a good friend, Regina, in high school who was Catholic. Cathy states that it was Regina and her mother Mabel who in their loving ways taught her the beauty and truths of Catholicism. It was in her early adult years when she became Catholic. She enrolled in the rite of Christian initiation for adults at St. Thomas the Apostle Church in Elkhart and was received into the Catholic Church on Easter, April 2nd, in 1983. Like Naomi and Ruth, Cathy too experienced grief. While in Germany, her brother Johnny, who was 8, contracted meningitis and died. Cathy, the oldest of the family, was 9 at that time. Her brother Don also came down with meningitis but survived. Most recently, she mourned the death of her sister Deborah from COVID, and her parents, of course, who died earlier. While in high school, Cathy had a steady boyfriend and was engaged at 17. However, both of them decided they were too young for marriage and went their separate ways. Cathy said she was also looking for more to life than marriage at this time. After Cathy's youngest sister Vicki was born, her mother Gloria went back to work. Being the oldest, Cathy became a caregiver for her siblings as well as helping around the house. After Cathy's parents died, she became the matriarch of the family, bringing them together often at our vacation house here on the campus. Cathy thought about religious life off and on since 5th grade. In her adult years, she did visit an Episcopal order in New York, but never applied. In 1986, Cathy applied to be apostolate in the Poor Handmaids of Jesus Christ. In the letter to the provincial, she wrote, "What seems to have influenced me the most is the spirit of the foundress, Catherine Casper. As I have learned more about her and her ways, the closer the bond is set between us." She continued to say, "Religious life has chosen me. I believe with my whole heart that the Lord has and is calling me to live the committed love style, and more particularly as a poor handmaid. It feels right in my heart." As Ruth looked forward to her new life, Cathy responded with these words when she was accepted as apostolate. "I'm looking forward to my new journey. The Lord has been good to me, and my soul sings with joy." When it came time to renew her vows, in her letter to the provincial, Cathy wrote, "I believe that by embracing life with its struggles and joys, I am being faithful to my vows of obedience. By being open to the will of God, I am being faithful to God who always calls me to new life. To poverty by being willing to let go of myself enough so that the Holy Spirit can work within and through me, so that I may give to others what God has given me. And to celibacy by being able to embrace the love of God so I may be a better lover in return. I have lived a happy life in the Poor Handmaid congregation, and my sisters have been both supported and loving. Community living is an important value to me, and I hope I have given as much to my sisters as they have given to me." In Cathy's initial application to the community, when asked what her gifts that she had, she wrote, "I have a willing and loving heart and 2 strong creative hands. I feel I listen well and get along with people." Cathy worked as a carpenter in her early adult years, using her hands. While in community, she began writing icons, some of those we have here on display. She was creative with her hands. This was indeed a prayer experience for her. These last months were hard for her because her hands were too swollen to use them in that way of prayer. She also did listen well as she used her spiritual direction skills in accompanying others in their journey with God. In the answer to the question, what does it mean to be a member of a religious community, Cathy wrote, "It is much like being a member of a large family," which she loved. It's like we work together and play together, sometimes united, sometimes divided, but all working toward the same goal. It's comforting, supporting, and upholding each other in our journey to God. Cathy did love community life and missed that a great deal when she was in rehab at Miller's Mary Manor in Plymouth. She often volunteered to be on committees and said yes to being on boards. Sojourner Truth was one of those boards which she gave her all to. She labored with a few other sisters in rewriting our community directory. She also worked with the committee to establish our community circles. When at Miller's, she came in by phone to a planning committee meeting for our upcoming province gathering on March 25th to 26th. She wanted to be involved, whether she was sick or not. Her mind was still working. She also had a love for the elderly. She had lived with Sister Richards and Maxine when she ministered in Trenton, Illinois, at St. Mary's Parish. When they came here to retire, she made sure she visited them and helped take care of their needs. Cathy had a love for our associates as well. She illustrated this when she served as their director and later as the director of the National American Conference of Associates in Religious. She also knew when it was time to move on. When we did future planning for the associates, she realized having a director who was an associate was important, and she was able to step aside. Cathy lived much of her adult life with diabetes. These last days and months were not easy for her. She had a bit of a stubborn streak, like her mother, her family would say. She didn't want to go off campus for rehab, but in the end, she knew it was good for her. Sister Cathy never stopped ministering, even though her body was slowing down. Her mind and soul kept working. When at the hospital, she ministered to the staff there. One in particular was Juan, a respiratory therapist that she encouraged in his work. Sister Cathy wrote this in her letter of application to the community, which would be words that I think she might want to share with us today. The Lord Jesus has touched me deeply, and yes, although I still have my fears, I'm no longer afraid. I feel I can serve the poor because I too knew how it was to be poor and what it means to lose a family member in death. But much more, I know the healing power of Jesus. No matter what touched your life, his touch is far better. Jesus never leaves you alone. Cathy is experiencing Jesus in a greater way now. In her application to be an affiliate, she wrote, "When I came to Ancilla Domini in June of 1983, I really didn't know what to expect. I instantly felt at home and was filled with peace that I never knew before. I believe Sister Cathy knows that complete peace in the embrace of God now. Even in her suffering, Sister Cathy tried to reflect on what was happening for her. One day when I visited her at Miller's, I shared a poem with her by John O'Donohue. After I read it, she asked for a copy so she could pray and reflect on it. I would like to share that poem with you now because it speaks to the last journey she took here on earth. The title of it is For a Friend on the Arrival of Illness. Now is a time of dark invitation. Beyond a frontier you did not expect. Abruptly, your old life seems distant. You barely noticed how each day opened. A path through fields never questioned, yet expected deep down to hold treasure. Now your time on earth becomes full of threat. Before your eyes, your future shrinks. You lived absorbed in the day-to-day, so continuous with everything around you that you could forget you were separate. Now this dark companion has come between you. Distances have opened in your eyes. You feel that against your will, a stranger has married your heart. Nothing before has made you feel so isolated and lost. When the reverberations of shock subside in you, may grace come to restore you to balance. May it shape a new space in your heart to embrace this illness as a teacher who has come to open your life to new worlds. May you find in yourself a courageous hospitality toward what is difficult, painful, and unknown. May you learn to use this illness as a lantern to illuminate the new qualities that will emerge in you. May the fragile harvesting of this slow light help to release whatever has become false in you. May you trust this light to clear a path through all the fog of old unease and anxiety until you feel arising within you a tranquility profound enough to call the storm to stillness. May you find the wisdom to listen to your illness. Ask it why it came, why it chose your friendship, where it wants to take you, what it wants you to know, what quality of space it wants to create in you, what you need to learn to become more fully yourself, that your presence may shine in the world. May you keep faith with your body, learning to see it as a holy sanctuary, which can bring this night wound gradually toward the healing and freedom of dawn. May you be granted the courage and vision to work through passivity and self-pity, to see the beauty you can harvest from the riches of this dark invitation. May you learn to receive it graciously and promise to learn swiftly that it may leave you newborn, willing to dedicate your time to birth. Sisters, Cathy's journey on earth has been completed. Her new birth, her new journey in heaven has just begun, and she is rejoicing with God today. Cathy, thank you for sharing your life with us. I invite anybody now who would like to share a story or two of memories of Cathy. Please feel free to come forward and share with us.
For anybody that doesn't know who I am Don, her now oldest brother. I had a lot I wanted to say, a lot of things from the heart, but then I look and there's not much to say. We all know who Cathy was. We were younger, big family of the 8, and I knew at a very young age that her journey towards God was going to start. It started way back when. Like you heard earlier, my brother Johnny passed away. When he passed away, they found out what was wrong with me. And I always said, why did Johnny die and I didn't? And even at that young age, Cathy said, because Johnny's journey is done. God has plans for you. And I always believed that. even growing up, even a little older. There's one time when my friend, my sister Betty, and I were playing in my dad's garage. We fell through the roof, landed on the concrete. My friend broke his arm. I broke my leg. And my sister Betty got a bruise on her butt. And I said, why? What happened? She said, God planned it that way. I said, but why? She said, well, if it was me, I would have had Betty go first. And it always made me laugh on that. Growing up even older, for the entire family, she was our rock. Everybody says they have sisters or brothers that help them through. Cathy did that for us. She kept us all together. When my parents passed away, she is the one that held us together, made us stronger. My father was in the Air Force, as you heard. She was there for us. When I joined the Navy in '78, my dad was mad at me for 2 weeks because I joined the Navy and not the Air Force. She looked at me and says, do what your heart feels you need to do. Don't worry about Dad, he'll get over it. And he did. While I was in the Navy, I could always, if I had a problem, I could always go to her. I knew who to talk to. And she would help me through it. I went through Desert Storm, seen things I didn't think I'd ever see. I didn't know if I could make it through it when I come back. She was there for me. She helped me make it through. She was and always will be my best friend. I knew who I could go to when I had problems. The family knows who they could go to when they had problems. Cathy always seemed to make it better. And she always said, don't worry, God will take care of you. God has plans for you. And as we used to say in the military when our shipmates would pass away, and I'll say the same thing to her now. Rest easy, my sister. I have the watch now.
I'm going to speak from this side of the church. I'm Sister Carol. I have some wonderful memories of Cathy. One probably is that directory committee that Joetta talked about. That was a committee of 4 of us, Cathy and myself and Sister Mary Jo and Sister Kate. We were given the job to revise our directory, which is kind of how the American Sisters live out our Constitution. We started that work in 2013. And we diligently kept working and working and revising and working. And it finally was approved by the chapter of 2021. But there still had to be some proofreading and some editing and things like that that had to be done between 2021 and now. And about 2 or 3 weeks ago, Cathy and I were on the phone, and we had the directory as we thought it was finished. And Cathy helped me do the final revision and the final proofing. And then we sent it to be printed. And Cathy knew that it was printed before she passed away. So I put a copy of the directory in Cathy's casket because I figured she worked hard enough and she should have her copy. And so it's in the casket with her. That's one story. The other story I want to share is of the icon that's out on the table of Martha and Mary. When I moved to my apartment 5 years ago, Cathy said, I want to make you an icon for your apartment. And I said, oh, I'd love it. And she said, who's your favorite in the Bible? And I said, oh, Martha and Mary. They're my favorite women in the Bible. She said, you know, Carol, there's no pattern for that icon. No one has ever done Martha and Mary before. So not only did she design the icon, she also wrote it for me. So that icon is out on the table, so it's very, very special because it is one of a kind. And then the third one I want to share is I was privileged to be her
power of attorney. And she asked Joetta and I to be her power of attorney for her. And last summer when she asked us to do that, I was with her. She was over at the home at that time. And all she said to me was, "Will you be my power of attorney? I trust you with my life."
Hello there. I'm Sister Connie. It's a tough night. Cathy was a really good friend. We went through formation together when I was in college. She came and I remember her first time with us. She was on one of our come and see weekends. She was so joyful and full of life, and I really always enjoyed being with her. The last couple nights I've had a dream, and I always wake up laughing because the dream is of Cathy with that big belly laugh that she had, and her whole body would shake, you know. And when we were in formation, one of our favorite times was we'd get together for what we called TP weekends, or temporary profess. And Sister Linda would always make bacon and eggs for us in the morning. And we always look forward to that. And I've teased Sister Linda quite often about that. So Sister Linda, you still owe us some bacon and eggs. But we had such rich conversations and deep sharing about our relationship with God. And she really had a depth to her that I appreciated so much. And taught me a lot and helped me to grow, and always encouraged me to use my gifts. And when I made my first profession, Cathy gave me a book. It was just an empty book of script paper for writing music. And she said, "That's your gift that God gave you, and you need to use it." And she's always been very encouraging in that direction. And one of the songs that I wrote when I was in novitiate, she was ahead of me. And she was a couple years ahead of me, but she always wrote letters to me when I was in novitiate. And so I wrote a song at that time called "Behold Your Servant." And it speaks to our life as poor handmaids, because as you can see, Mary said, "I am your servant." And we follow that same fiat in our own lives. And that song has been used on many occasions in our community for jubilees and funerals and all kinds of different celebrations. And now it's been translated into several different languages with our sisters in other countries, and it's because of Cathy's encouragement. So another piece that I want to share with you is that Kathy's dad, your dad, and my dad were both very ill at the same time. And we had a weekend together that we had to go to at the Oldenburg Franciscans, and we shared a room. And we promised each other that we would be there for each other when our dads died. And we were. My dad died first, and then your dad. And we were both. What do you want to say? We were the only people in our class. She didn't have any classmates, nor did I, and so we often talked that we were each other's closest thing to classmates. And so I'm really gonna miss her.
I'm Sister Pat Colas. Sister Pat Peters is Sister Pat 1, and I'm Sister Pat 2. So, and what I wanted to share with you is you've heard some stories about Sister Cathy's icons. And I love the pictures in these things. And in the middle of this booklet is, right where the staples are, is a picture of Cathy with an icon. And that's the first icon she ever did. We have a person who comes to help us every summer, Peter Pearson, and this was the first one. It was Saint Hildegard of Bingen, and she's a saint who had lived in Germany along the Rhine River, very close to where our sisters started. And so we worked on it, and we worked on it. Sister Veronica Mikulski was there. A friend of the sisters, Bob Apple from Wisconsin, was there. I can't remember if anybody else was there. But anyway, it was so hard because it was the first one. The face was so small, we couldn't get it right. The clothes were black. You don't paint black, but you got to make it look like black. We couldn't do it. And so most of us kind of hid this first icon. But Cathy didn't give up. She kept at it because she had such good skills with her hands. And she also had a spirituality, and she found that she could connect it, reach her God by working with her hands and finding out about these saints. Well, we found out you can't control things, and also we're pretty far from being a saint in this very first icon workshop. And then Cathy was also the one who really got going to make an icon of St. Katharina Casper. That's the sister who started us in Germany. And she was able to get Peter Pearson to help out, and all of us did a little bit of it. So I just thought you'd enjoy knowing that this is a very special picture.
My soul gives glory to my God, who reaches down with loving grace to lift me from my low estate and set me in the highest place. Magnificat, with all my heart I answer yes. When God announces wondrous news, and every age shall call me blessed. God's mercy comforts all who fear, embracing with a steadfast arm that casts the mighty from their thrones, but keeps the humble safe from harm. Magnificat, the weak find strength, the weary rest. God's promise sounds from age to age. The needy of the world are blessed. God's justice sends the rich away, but feeds the poor with lavish things. Each hungry soul fills with joy and joins the song that Mary sings. Magnificat, magnificat, to God, Creator, Christ the Son, and Holy Spirit, God, all praises to the three in one. Wherever you go, I will follow. Wherever you live is my home. Though days be of blessing or sorrow, though hearts be of canvas or stone, though Eden be lost to the past, though mountains before us be vast, wherever you go, I am with you. I never will leave you alone. Wherever you dream, I am with you. When stars call your name in the night, those shadows and mist of the future, together we bear their stand with only your promise in hand. But lead where you dream, I will follow. To dream with you is my delight. And though you should fall, you will find me. When no other friend can you claim. When foes beat you down or betray you, and others desert you in shame. When home and dreams are enough, and you run away from my love, I'll raise you from where you have fallen. Faithful to you is my name. Wherever you die, I will be there to sing you to sleep with a song, to spare you with times of our journey. Your fears and your doubts I will calm. We'll live when your journeys are done. Forever in memory has won. And we will be buried together. And waken to greet a new dawn. Wherever you go, I will follow. Behold, the horizon shines clear. The possible gleams like a city. Together we've nothing to fear. So speak with words bold and true. The message my heart seeks to you. You won't be alone.